on simple sums and simple geometry, do you? Oh no. First of all, you can place the screen at an angle to the beam of light, or you can move the light source about. The shadows distort, but you can still talk about them in a reasonable way. You can still do your sums. Then, of course, you can distort the screen in all sorts of interesting ways, and still you can talk about the shadows in a logical way. Also, you can put the light inside the object and cast the shadow on the screen, and that is really very interesting. If you make a shadow of a shadow on a screen, then distort the screen, why, a distance like an inch might collapse into nothingness, or maybe stretch to how far, I don't know. Once you start distorting the screen, well, there's no knowing what kind of sums you might be able to do. That's what Anna called real God stuff. But you can do none of these tricks with a shadow of a shadow. That's such a tiny little dot that it won't distort at all, no matter what you do with it. Anna's final shadow revelation was delivered one wet and windy winter's night, a night that I haven't quite come to terms with in 30 years. I was sitting comfortably by the warm fire reading. Anna was fiddling about with her paper and pencil when it all started. "What are you reading, Finn?" It's all about space and time and stuff like that." "You wouldn't be interested." "What's it say?" "Lots of things about space and time." And then I made my mistake. "And light." "Oh?" She stopped writing. "What about light?" I started to get itchy under the collar. After all, light and shadow were Anna's province. "Well, a fellow called Einstein has figured out that nothing can go faster than light." "Oh," said Anna, and went on writing. Suddenly, she flung over her shoulder, "That's wrong." "So it's wrong, is it? Why did you stop me?" The joke misfired. "Didn't know what you were reading," she replied. "All right then, tell me what goes faster than light." "Shadows." "Can't do," I counted, "because the light and the shadows get there at the same time." "Why?" "Because it's the light that makes the shadow." I was beginning to get a bit muddled. Look at a shadow. Where it is, there isn't any light. You can't have a shadow getting there before the light does. She digested this for about 5 minutes. I'd gone back to my book. "Shadows go faster. I can show you." "This I have got to see. Start demonstrating." She hopped off the chair and put on her outdoor coat and mackintosh and picked up a large torch. "Where are we off to?" "Down the cemetery. It's pouring with rain and it's perishing dark." She waved the torch at me. "Can't show you the shadow if it's light, can I?" Outside it was black as pitch, and the rain wasn't waiting to fall down. It was just solid water. "What are we going to the cemetery for?" "'Cause of the long wall." As the cemetery road led to nowhere in particular, and as the road was bounded on one side by the railway fence and on the other side by the high cemetery wall, the road wasn't very well lit, and nobody used it very much, I hoped. Reaching the midpoint of the wall, we stopped. "What now?" I questioned. "You stand here." And I was stood in the road about 30 feet from the wall. "I'm going to go up there," she continued, "and I'll shine the light on you. You watch your shadow fall on the wall." With that explanation, she trotted off into the dark. Suddenly the torchlight flipped on, fingering about in the darkness until she found me. "Ready?" came the yell from the darkness. "Yes," I yelled back. "See your shadow?" "No." "I'll come nearer. Say when you can." The torch bobbed nearer, transfixing me in the middle of the beam. "Righty-ho!" I yelled as I made out my dim shadow away down the far end of the wall. "Now watch your shadow!" She walked a path parallel to the cemetery wall, about 2 feet further away from it than I was. I watched my shadow stirring into the darkness. It zoomed towards me, and at that fair rate of knot, certainly much faster than Anna was walking. It slowed down as it passed me on the wall, and then it sped up again. Anna was walking backwards with the light still on me. Suddenly, she was by my side again. "See it?" she questioned. "Yeah, I saw it." "Goes fast, don't it?" "Sure does. How did you work that one out?" "The cars. The lights on the cars." I agreed that my shadow was moving faster than she was walking, but certainly not faster than the light, and I said so. I got no answer. By the light of the torch, I could see that she was miles away. The outside experiment now finished, she was busy setting up some internal experiment. I grabbed her hand, saying, "Come on, Titch, let's go to Marby's for a cup of tea and a bite to eat." On the way we met Sally. "You daft," she said. "What are you doing, taking a kid out on a night like this?" "Not taking," I answered. "Being took." "Oh," said Sally. "One of them?" "Yes. Come and have a cup of tea at Marby's." "Suits me," replied Sally. I'd just about finished my pork pie when Anna's internal experiment came to its end. "The sun," she said. "It's like the lights on the cars." After a few more moments' thought, she stabbed in my direction with her unused fork. "You said you are like the earth and that the wall is squillions of miles away, but it's only a pretend wall." She returned with a bump and noticed Sally for the first time. "Oh, hello, Sally," she smiled. "Hi, Titch," replied Sally. "What gives?" Anna transfixed me with her eyes. "The sun makes a shadow of the earth on the wall, the pretend wall." Well, I repeated rather doubtfully. "I'm not so sure of that." "Well, it can," she smiled. "In your head it can. If the earth goes round the sun, and the shadow goes on the wall, which is a squillion miles away," I finished off the question for her. "How fast?" she grinned. "How fast does the shadow go on the wall?" She jabbed her fork at her meat pie and circled it round her head like the earth going around the sun. Her head tilted to one side, and with a big grin she dared me to give her an answer. But I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to say squillions of miles a second, at least not until I had thought about it for a bit longer. I knew I was right, that nothing could go faster than light. I believed it completely, and I was certain that Mr. Einstein hadn't missed it. Looking back over the years, I realised just where I'd gone wrong. Not with the sums, I mean, but with Anna's education. You see, I didn't teach Anna the right and proper way to do things. Oh, sure, I'd showed her ways to do things, funny ways, quick ways, hard ways, and all sorts of ways, but not the right way. In the first place, I wasn't at all sure myself what the right way was. So naturally, Anna had to find out ways for herself. That's what made it all so difficult for me.